Hello, and welcome to our little session on SafeAssign. As you know, I'm Dr. Greg Parsons, and because of a couple of issues with regards to assignments that I've been looking at, questions that students have had from me, I decided I'd put together a little bit of a overview and also set of instructions about how I think SafeAssign should be used. And it's going to run about 10 minutes, but I think you'll save yourself so much time that it's definitely worth paying attention to it. SafeAssign, of course, as you know, is quote-unquote an anti-plagiarism program that for most written work, you've got to turn it in through SafeAssign, both in a draft form and then a final version. The idea being that the draft submission will catch plagiarism and other issues with your writing. The finished version should be clean, and so when I grade it, I don't have to run it through SafeAssign. It's already been done for me. It's not quite as straightforward as we would like, and consequently I've been grading fairly leniently with regards to that, but I think this presentation and a little bit of practice on your part will improve things so that we can generally trust SafeAssign to help us do our work. It's not really a problem, it's really an aid, and it's learning how to use this tool or this aid, I think, that will be beneficial to you and to me at the same time. So I hope you enjoy the little presentation and get back to me if you have any questions. Again, this is pretty important this week as we're going into week 5, because the midterms assignments are going to be due this week. It's going to be written work. It's got to go through SafeAssign. So I think it's very important that you know what you're doing before you get started with it. Again, I'm open for questions. If you have any more questions after this presentation, you're more than welcome to get in touch with me. As I indicated in the introduction, this presentation, this explanation of SafeAssign is going to use as an example an article review. However, the same process will apply whether you're doing a case study, doing an exam, doing a report, whatever, as long as you're using the SafeAssign process where you submit a draft and you submit a final paper, this process will apply. So the first step, of course, is to find the material you're going to be using. In this case, I chose an article from the ProQuest databases on business ethics and illicit businesses. Could have been anything. If you were doing a paper that was going to require several references, you would probably want to pull all of those up, okay, to have those available for you. Step 2, you need to read the article or articles that you're going to be using and take notes. What I did in this particular case was I just cut and pasted from the original article some of the stuff that I thought would be useful when I'm putting together my report. I got the title, I got most of the author's name, I got the source where it came from, and then some introductory information. Now, I'll tell you right now, this is not a explanation about how to write article reviews. This is not an example of the best way to do it or what I'm looking for. This is an explanation of how to use SafeAssign. So don't take the way that I'm doing the report or what I'm writing in my report as what I want you to do. Okay, this is just about SafeAssign. So we've got our notes, and the next step is to, of course, write the report. So I have a brief one here. Includes some material from the article, some things that I put in there. It shows the title and the author, where it came from, and so on. And then, of course, the next step is to run it through the draft process of SafeAssign. So we go here and we click on the SafeAssign Draft View Complete. And that brings us to this screen where you're going to, at the file to attach, you're going to browse for your draft of your report, and then you're going to submit it. In this case, I wrote in as a comment, this is a draft, just to identify which one that we're working with at this point. After your draft is submitted, you'll get a report back. If you go back to the screen that we looked at before we went to the actual submission, it says view or complete. If you come back in and say view after you've submitted, of course it'll bring up this screen that will show you how you did. Now this may take a few minutes. Generally it will show that it's been submitted, but you may not have a number for matching, and you may not have a check mark next to SA report. It sometimes takes a few minutes to get the information back. That'll SafeAssign out there and searching through the internet and all the databases out there, so it's got something to compare to. So you have to wait a little while to get the results. As you can see in this particular one, my little report, my draft, came up with 72% matching. And so I might be interested at this point, since our target is 20%, to see what's going on. So then I click on SA report, and I get this screen. Now there's a couple things to note here. In the area called submission comment, this is where it says this is a draft. That's what I wrote in there. And then underneath that it says suspected sources. Here it's identifying the places that it thinks the information came from. But what we're mainly interested in is where it says paper text and the highlighted areas, the blue highlighted areas. It means that according to SafeAssign, this information is coming from someplace else, that you have not made this up. You've copied it or cut and pasted it from someplace else, which is true. It's exactly what I did. You'll notice that the title and the journal and the author and all that information is highlighted. Is it going to be highlighted on your reviews, your articles? Yeah, obviously. It's coming from someplace else. You're not making it up. You're copying it. Is that a problem? No, that's not a problem at all. It is unfortunately included in the 72%. However, when I look at these, that part I ignore entirely. What I'm interested in is the body of your article or your report, which starts on the next line. And here you can see we've got a combination of some of the stuff that I wrote and some of the stuff that I simply copied out of the article. And then again at the bottom of the page it shows the journal again, the reference. So my bibliography, if you want to, or my list of references is also going to show up as copied, as not original, and that would be expected too. So really all we're really concerned about is the body of your paper. But 72% is high, and I can see just by looking at it over 50% of what's considered the body of your text, of my text, is not original. Okay? Doesn't mean it's plagiarized. It just means that you're not writing your original stuff, even though I reference it. Okay? So SafeAssign is not just simply a plagiarism catcher. It is also a guide to how much original work you are putting into your particular reports. So that's step 6. You review the report. On step 7, you go back to your report and you make revisions. Based upon the report that you've seen, the things that were considered copying, I went back and rewrote the body of my paper. I did leave in the quote. Okay. So what I would expect to see on the next go around, the final SafeAssign, is that again all the title information, the journal information, the author information, the reference at the bottom, we know that'll all be caught. However, the amount of what's considered non-original material in the body of the paper should be reduced because I rewrote that entire first paragraph. So when we're ready to submit, we go back to the article review page and we go down now to the week 4 article review SafeAssign final required, and we click on view and complete. So again, here we go. In my comments I put this is a revised version. I attached the newly revised version for SafeAssign and I submitted. And now I got back the new report. My percentage of non-original material dropped. As you can see now, the main part of the body of the paper is not highlighted, As I predicted, the quote underneath is highlighted, so that's still considered non-original. But it dropped the percentage down to about, at this point, we're less than 50%. I can see in the body of the paper there's less than 50% that's being copied. Do I think it's 20% yet? Well, it's probably not 20%. Okay, so we're probably not quite where we want to be. At this point, if you're finished with your assignment and you're happy with it, you're done. It's been submitted. You only are allowed 2 attempts, so if you still think you have a problem and you think you would like to give it another go, or you feel like something has gone wrong and you'd like to try to fix it, contact your instructor. There's no way you as a student can go beyond 2 attempts. However, an instructor may be able to help you in unusual circumstances have your report and your work resubmitted to SafeAssign. So the keys to success when working with SafeAssign. Number 1, don't put the draft and final in at the same time. The whole idea of having a draft is so that you can submit it, have SafeAssign look it over, send it back to you, no penalty involved. The idea is at that point you can make revisions, cut down on any plagiarism, add more original work if you need to, and then when you're happy with it, turn it in as the final paper. That's what I'm going to see, and that's what's going to be graded. Number 2, don't worry about titles, the journal references, the authors. All those will always be highlighted. You don't have to change them. When I'm looking at your papers, I'm not including those mentally as part of the percentage, although SafeAssign does include it as the percentage. SafeAssign isn't just looking for plagiarism. As I've mentioned above, it's actually looking at how much work is yours or not yours. That's what the percentage indicates. The percentage indicates what percentage of what you've turned in is not yours, somebody else's. So even if you've referenced it, even if you said, well, I took it out of this article and I put it in and I referenced it, it's not yours. You're taking it from someplace else. So even though it's not illegally plagiarism, it's not original work, and we're looking for original work. The key, of course, is for you to write more. If you turn in a report that only has 3 or 4 of your own sentences, well, obviously your percentage is going to be of original work is going to be fairly low. The title, the author, the journal reference are probably going to have more unoriginal work than you've put in. So the whole key to lowering that percentage is writing more of your own words. Good luck.